Under the soft Mediterranean sun, few symbols capture Italy's maritime identity more vividly than its aircraft carriers. For decades, the Italian Navy, Marina Militare, has relied on two flagships, Cavour, the F-35B-capable light carrier commissioned in 2009, and Trieste, the new amphibious assault ship entering service in 2024. Together, they gave Italy one of the most balanced fleets in southern Europe. Yet behind the calm surface, a new ambition has emerged. The 2025-2027 Italian defense planning document quietly confirmed a feasibility study for a nuclear-powered aircraft carrier, a concept that could transform the country's naval posture from regional to global. The project, tentatively called Trieste TU, may become the most ambitious program in Italy's modern naval history. Italy's decision to explore a nuclear carrier seems surprising for a state that traditionally viewed itself as a middle naval power. But the logic is unmistakable. The Mediterranean is no longer a closed theater. Russian assets remain active in Syria. Chinese shipping and investments reach deep into Piraeus, and NATO increasingly expects southern members to share the burden of global sea control. For a nation whose maritime industries, Fincantieri, Leonardo, MBDA, are among Europe's most advanced, the idea of building a full-scale carrier is a natural progression. The Italian Navy wants to move from a force of limited endurance to one capable of sustained deployments across the Indo-Pacific. Trieste II would be the hardware expression of that strategic leap. Technically, the project represents a dramatic evolution from Trieste L9890. The current ship is a versatile LHD designed to embark F-35B short takeoff jets, helicopters, and amphibious units, but its range, deck strength, and sortie rate remain limited. The envisioned Trieste II would exceed 65,000 tons displacement, 280 meters in length, and embark up to 40 aircraft. Nuclear propulsion would provide unlimited range and the electrical power needed for advanced systems, radar arrays, directed energy defenses, and the EMALS electromagnetic launch catapult. This would allow the Navy to operate heavier F-35C fighters, carrier-borne early warning aircraft, and stealth UAVs. The deck would bristle with Aster 30 missiles, Phalanx close-in weapons, and the Leonardo Kronos Grand Naval Radar linked to the Athena Battle Management Network. Nuclear power is the real revolution. Italy abandoned its civilian reactors after the 1987 referendum, yet the technology remains within reach through industrial and scientific cooperation with France's EDF or Britain's Rolls-Royce. For the Navy, a small modular reactor could deliver decades of autonomy at sea, no refueling stops, and minimal logistic vulnerability. It would also serve as a testbed for Italy's return to nuclear engineering, a politically sensitive but strategically vital frontier. The carrier's projected cost may reach €8 billion over 15 years, a scale unseen since the post-war reconstruction of the fleet. The Defense Ministry has allocated an initial research budget of around €200 million to study propulsion, EMALS integration, and hull design between 2026 and 2028. Beyond technology, the strategic rationale is compelling. Italy's maritime interests extend from the Adriatic and Aegean Seas to the Suez Choke Point, the Red Sea, and the Western Indian Ocean. Energy routes, undersea cables, and migration flows all converge through the Mediterranean. A nuclear-powered carrier would allow continuous presence in these distant zones without dependence on U.S. logistics. It would also project a European flag into the Indo-Pacific, where the Italian Navy already sailed in 2023 with Cavour and the frigate Francesco Morosini. In that sense, Trieste TU is not merely a ship, it is the maritime equivalent of Italy's aspiration to act as a global middle power. Within NATO, it would reinforce the southern flank while relieving pressure on U.S. carrier groups. Within the EU, it would anchor the emerging concept of European naval autonomy. Industrial momentum adds credibility to the vision. Fincantieri's Castellammare di Stabia yard, builder of Trieste, is one of the few European facilities capable of constructing a 65,000-ton hull. Leonardo would integrate command, electronic warfare, and radar systems. MBDA would supply the missile suite. The program would sustain thousands of high-skilled jobs for 2 decades, aligning with Prime Minister Meloni's Made in Italy defense autonomy policy. The ship would also serve as a catalyst for unmanned aviation, cybersecurity, and naval reactor technologies, sectors Italy wants to cultivate as exportable competencies. Economically, it is a massive burden. Strategically, it is an investment in sovereignty. Politically, the symbolism is profound. For centuries, Italy's maritime identity oscillated between ambition and restraint. The Regia Marina of World War II once rivaled the Royal Navy. The Cold War Navy defended NATO's southern flank but stayed confined to the Mediterranean. A nuclear carrier would mark the rebirth of that grand maritime mindset, what Italian admirals call proiezione globale. It would proclaim that Rome seeks not subordination, but partnership with the major naval democracies. The government already frames defense industry exports as instruments of diplomacy. A nuclear carrier would extend that narrative from trade shows to blue water strategy. In comparative terms, Trieste II would place Italy in an elite trio with France and the United Kingdom, the only European nations operating carriers of such scale. France's Charles de Gaulle remains Europe's only nuclear-powered ship, soon to be replaced by the Pang program. Britain's Queen Elizabeth class relies on conventional gas turbines. An Italian nuclear carrier would thus bridge the gap between the two approaches, the French nuclear tradition and the British expeditionary model. For NATO, this would mean greater flexibility, one carrier for the Atlantic, one for the Indo-Pacific rotation, one for the Mediterranean. For partners like Australia, Japan, and the Philippines, it could signal Europe's willingness to play an active security role in their maritime backyard, a counterweight to China's global naval expansion. Yet challenges abound. Italy's defense spending, at roughly 1.6% of GDP, still lags behind NATO's target. To sustain a nuclear carrier, Rome must either raise budgets or secure European co-funding through the European Defense Fund. Domestic politics remains another minefield. Public opinion, shaped by decades of anti-nuclear sentiment, may resist the idea of reactors at sea. Technical hurdles include reactor design certification, radiation safety infrastructure, and the training of a new generation of naval nuclear engineers. Moreover, the very necessity of 3 European carriers may invite debate over duplication versus cooperation. Some strategists argue for a shared European carrier group rather than national vanity projects. For Italy, the answer lies in balancing prestige with practicality.